AOC is queen of this lack of reality, and yet you got her assembling some kind of war chest. Check this out. Our friend Eric Doherty already said here on Twitter just moments ago that she's raising so much money. She's raising a whopping $9.6 million in her first quarter of 2025. She has $8.2 million on hand. He's quoting Punchbowl, which is one of the political publications. This is kind of amazing. So what, AOC is going to take over? I'll take that one all day, frankly, because she doesn't get it, right? Like, she's out there arguing for the Maryland men's return. She's saying you can't deport people. She's in sync with Letitia James and Kathy Hochul, and somehow criminals now we need to protect, including those at Rikers Island. It's concerning, though, that so many Democrats really see her as the next up-and-coming head of the party. Don't forget, when the party was polled, like Democrats around the country, the majority of people saw AOC as their leader, which is really wild. And by the way, I don't know if the rest of the Democrats are on board with this one. Here's one Democrat congressman on CNN earlier today being posed this question: who do you really think is head of the party?
And so who would you say is the leader of the Democratic Party right now?
Well, the leader in the House of Representatives is Hakeem Jeffries, and he will be the next Speaker of the House. He's earned that.
He is the voice, though, of the Democratic Party? Like, is that who the Democrats should be rallying around, pushing forward? That's who should be driving the message?
Well, I think we've got a whole new generation of talent, people who are speaking out on economic issues. I gave a speech in Cleveland on economic patriotism, our vision of how we're going to bring prosperity and manufacturing back around the country. But the most urgent issue is to stand up against the attacks on the rule of law, on the Constitution, on universities, and then to make sure that we elect Hakeem Jeffries Speaker of the House so we have one check on Donald Trump's unconstitutional actions.
Do you think, in terms of just political strategy, obviously you all have a lot of priorities, I hear you, about what you're trying to do, but in terms of political strategy, is that step one, getting the House back in the midterms?
I think step one is to stand up for the Constitution. We have people in this country who are getting knocks on doors from police, who are not getting due process. Some of them deported to an El Salvador prison where they're potentially being tortured. And that needs to stop. You have the Supreme Court 9-0 saying that this is unconstitutional, that the Trump administration needs to facilitate the return. This is a huge crisis. And I think every Democrat needs to be speaking out about that. Democrats need to be standing up for President Garber at Harvard University, who had the courage to stand up to the administration's basic takeover of freedom of speech. So we have an immediate issue right now, which is standing up for the Constitution.
You just don't know who's running the party. Okay. This is what they're going to sell, right? We got to stand up for all the people who are here illegally and may have committed crimes, and God forbid we deport them. That can't happen, right? That's one angle. And we got to stand up so that everybody can practice their protests and go rah-rah Hamas on Ivy League campuses on taxpayer dime. I don't think so, guys. I don't think so. And so you know what? We're going to talk some sense into them. I don't really care what the Democrats do. You know what? They can do this all day long because it just means good news for Republicans and therefore hopefully lower taxes and a more prosperous economy. But here's James Carville, and he gets it, and he knows what these people like AOC and others have done to the party. And he's like, I don't want you here. Go take your little pronouns and go for a walk. Bye. Done. Watch.
So maybe we need to have a schism. Maybe you got plenty different justice Party, the Working Families Party, the Socialist Party. The only thing I'd ask is just don't use the word Democratic in any title that you have, because most Democrats that I know that are running for office don't want your name, don't want you to be part of the deal. Yeah, they would be glad to take your votes. Who wouldn't? Everybody wants to get as many votes as they can. Maybe you come up with your own name. And by the way, nothing against, after the election, can sit down and do like is done in parliamentary governments or governments around the world. You sit down and you say, okay, we want to be part of a governing majority, and we have these things that we want you to do to bring us in, and we have negotiations, and we figure a way that we can live with different parties, different titles, but under the same general philosophical roof. As I've always said, been very clear that most of the things at the faculty lounge that Identity Left wants, 85% of them, I want to. We'd like to expand opportunity for people. We'd like to expand people that have health care. We'd like to do more to help young voters. We think that environmental problems are totally crushing that we face. We want solutions there. We think income inequality is a terrible thing, and we've got to do certain things to address it, like, okay, we can raise taxes on incomes over $400,000 a year, raise the minimum wage. These are things that we can work on. I don't think we can work together on pronoun politics. I don't. I think that.
Thank you. You know what? I don't want to work with you guys anyway, but at least somebody in the Democrat Party has the smarts to say we can't work together on pronoun politics.
You're not. This election did not teach you how damaging that is. I don't think there's anything that I can tell you. And you say this guy is stuck in another century, not another decade, and he represents nothing to do with the future of our movement. I can accept that. You're not really going to hurt my feelings. So maybe we could have a kind of amicable split here, and we'll go to post in 2026, because you don't ever run, they never run against a Republican. Okay. All they do is run against other Democrats. I don't quite understand why you're so anxious to have the word Democrat in the description of what you do, but maybe we can have a amicable split here. And you go your way, and we go our way, and after the election, we come together and see how much common ground we can find.
Hey, that'd be great, right? I mean, Carville is telling AOC to get lost as she's striving to be head of the Democrat Party. Again, as somebody who would rather have lower taxes, less regulation, a more vibrant economy, you kind of had me at taxes. I say that on tax day, right? April 15th. And so I'd love to see somebody like AOC, because I don't think she's going to get to first base. But Carville's smart. He knows darn well, you know what? Trump swooped in. He got a lot of that MAGA base that would have otherwise been for, I don't know, a guy like Bernie who can't stand the idea of turning over the reins to AOC as well. I wonder what that's about. Is he really a little bit more Carville than we think? Or is he just a jealous old man that can't stand the idea of AOC taking over things? Remember the other day on ABC News, he sat down and did that big interview, but yet he wouldn't finish his questions. Once AOC came up, it was like, woo, Bernie, touchy.
Would you like to see her joining the Senate?
Right now, we have, as I said, just a whole lot of people in the Congress. Okay, Jonathan, thanks.
Wait, I got one more. This is important.
Well, I asked you.
Okay.
You want to do nonsense, do nonsense.
No.
I don't want to talk about inside the Beltway stuff. I got 32,000 people.
I was just asking you about AOC because she was out there.
Well, fine, but I don't want to talk about this. What was the last question?
I was just going to ask you one more question about you. I mean, that's all. I was literally your last.
What is your question?
Well, I mean, it's easier.
Oh, because he just wants to talk about himself. You see, so he is kind of just a bitter old man who doesn't want to turn over the reins. I mean, those are the progressives. So if Carville's smart, he gets rid of Sanders, he gets rid of AOC, and he gets rid of a woman who wants to take AOC's place. You know who wants to take AOC's place, and you know who's actually gaining on her, and I consider this a good thing for Republicans, because, wow, this woman can't come near the Oval Office. She is not electable at all. She can barely speak. And she clearly doesn't have a lot of intelligence, because somehow she thinks that Trump's migrant policy is the reason for inflation. I'm just going to remind her that inflation in the last two reports has come down considerably. So no inflation right now, not to say we don't get it with some tariffs, et cetera. But in the here and now, from the most recent data we've seen, there's actually been no inflation. So tell me how she concocts this one. Jasmine Crockett that I'm talking about.
realm. So I am telling you that this is a failed thing, but we've got to do better to connect the dots and let people know the reason you can't afford a home is because of these failed immigration policies. The reason you're not going to be able to afford your food is because of these failed immigration policies. And the same can go for the hospitality industries, where we have so many of those in the hospitality industry that are saying they do not have the workers that they need right now.
So I'm just curious, like, what is the method to the madness? Is it like Elon said? You just keep bringing people here and giving them social security numbers and hoping that they can vote? The New York court said, no, you're not going to have 800,000 people that are non-citizens voting in New York state elections. But you kind of wonder, like, what's the thinking here? I realize they want to seem like, oh, we're good people. We're standing up for the little guy who's a member of MS-13. Again, per our own court records. Like, they wouldn't give him bail because they said he's a known member of MS-13. What the heck? And yet she's out there spinning this. Now it gets weird.
So I had to go around the country and educate people about what immigrants do for this country, or the fact that we are a country of immigrants.
Right.
The fact is, ain't none of y'all trying to go and farm right now. Okay, so I'm lying. Raise your hands. You're not. We done picking cotton. We are. You can't pay us enough to find a plantation.
I know that's right.
Oh. So she's willing to kind of say things in a way that maybe AOC was considered new and young and fresh and different. Now you got Crockett on the scene, and she'll just like kind of get crazy on you and really not make any sense. And somehow that's what's valued now? I'm going to go back to Carville. You know, if the Democrat Party were smart, they would actually try and find real ways to solve real problems. And it wouldn't mean jumping on a plane to go down to the El Salvadorian prison to duke it out with the prison guards for the guy who was a known member of MS-13 and here illegally to begin with. Okay, that's where you kind of, you lose people. You really do. You lose people. Again, just in court documents, we have seen that he was, one, illegally in the country, and two, was under consideration, was in court to begin with because, quote, the evidence shows that he's a verified member of MS-13. And they denied him bail in 2019 after he was arrested on something else. I mean, I think you guys have completely lost your way.